Good morning. Are you you're so excited right now? Joe and Shuri Adib are from a group called Gypsy at Heart. We're so lucky to have them here this morning. They've just been mesmerizing me all morning. It's great. During the sound check, Jeep said they could just play for an hour, and that's a service. Right? That's just so great. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta for this spectacular service about the Sufi mystic Hafiz. Hafiz is a 14th century mystic, and the 13th century mystic Rumi has a text in our hymnal number 188, "Come, come, whoever you are." The poem has the full poem has the line, "Though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, it does not matter. Come, yet again come." That's in the middle of this, and I really enjoyed that. So there's a little obligato pattern that goes, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows 1,000, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you, that will keep continuing, and then we'll sing, come, come, whoever you got it. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let's make it happen. That was a very good obligato pattern. You really just keep it going. And though you've broken your vows 1,000 times, though you've broken your vows, come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of leaving, ours is no caravan of despair. Come, yet again come. Though you've broken your vows 1,000, though you've broken your vows 1,000 times. We are so glad you are here. It is the best place to be in Atlanta, Georgia on a Sunday morning.
Good morning and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Atlanta, a beloved community that changes lives. I'm Darvis White, and I'm so glad you're here this morning. Wherever you're from, whomever you love, you're welcome here. If this is your first time or if you have not yet had a chance, please stop by our Welcome Center in the social hall after the service to allow us to get to know you a little better. You can sign up to receive information about services and programs being presented over the next several weeks. Because of the number of announcements this morning, I'll encourage you to consult your order of service for information on this week's religious education offerings. As part of this year's stewardship campaign, please sign up to attend a house party, either online or at the pledge table in the social hall. Childcare is available at a few of these parties, and we want to highlight that Reverend Strauss and our new DLRE, Fenwick Broyard, will be at the Friday, October 25th house party. Come join us for a joyous conversation about the value of UUCA in our lives. The Anti-Racism, Anti-Oppression, Multiculturalism Committee of the Board will be hosting a donuts and discussion session next Sunday between services. From 10:35 to 10:50 on October 27th, all congregants are encouraged to come learn about the ARAMAC Committee's efforts to ensure that our congregation's commitment to eradicating racism and oppression is a living commitment. please show your support for our Aramaic covenant by attending this meeting next Sunday. Additionally, Project Phoenix will host 2 town halls to share information received from our architects and construction company on the possible cost of our new home at 2650. The congregation has 2 dates to participate in this very important discussion. Wednesday, October 23rd, in the social hall from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday, October 27th, from 12:20 p.m. to 1:50 p.m. in the sanctuary. Also, next week, please remember to have your children wear their costumes for the Halloween party and costume parade. And if you'd like to contribute to our Dia de los Muertos / All Saints Day altar, please remember to bring images and offerings for your dearly departed. UUCA is forming a movement choir. UU Moves is a new project to enhance our worship services. This group will interpret through body movements and gestures the lyrics of some of the music sung by our vocal choirs. Please see the announcement bulletin board in the social hall and reach out to Elizabeth Field for more details and information. In addition to the movement choir, we also are reestablishing our children's music program. Our new children's choral director, Chelsea Green, will be leading 3 age-specific music groups, meeting on Sundays. You can register your child via the registration link in this week's family email, or by completing and submitting one of these beautiful golden cards Chelsea will be distributing to all who are interested this morning. Completed cards can be submitted at the RE table in the social hall. Last but not least, congregants are encouraged to purchase tickets and attend the 19th annual Call to Action Prayer Breakfast hosted by the Interfaith Children's Movement. At this year's breakfast, scheduled to occur Wednesday, October 23rd from 7 to 9 a.m. at the temple, our very own Reverend Terrence Strauss will be one of the prayer leaders, and our own Michael Kahn will represent us as one of the youth speakers. Tickets may be purchased at icmgeorgia.org. That's icmgeorgia.org. And anyone having questions should contact Joy Bora. And now, please be sure to take this moment to put your cell phone in its most reverent position. Thank you. Once again, we're glad you're here on this beautiful fall morning. Please say the child's lighting words with me in your order of service or on the screen. May the light of this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking, invite all who yearn for acceptance, and ignite our passion for justice and peace.
Our chalice flame is also the warmth of our community. Let us greet each other with a handshake or a hug.
Good morning. Good morning, Tree. Good morning.
The medieval Persian poet known as Hafiz says, "A poet is someone who can pour light into a cup, then raise it to nourish your beautiful, parched, holy mouth." Hafiz, also translated as Hafez, is both the mystic poet's pen name and an honorific taken by those who have memorized the Quran. Hafiz of Shiraz, a city in what is now Iran, identified as a Sufi, a sect of Islam dedicated to going above and beyond the basic requirements of the Quran in order to know God. However, he pursued his religious study in secret while teaching and writing love poetry that circulated amongst a popular audience, perhaps somewhat like the way internet memes do today. A central belief for many Muslims is that Allah, the Creator, is perfect and the only thing worthy of worship, while the creation is imperfect and blasphemous to worship. Hafiz's manner of seeing the divine in nature, in music and dance, and in intimate relations between people was not compatible with that view. While he sometimes enjoyed the patronage of local leaders, he spent part of his life in exile. It may not surprise you to learn that Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of our Unitarian transcendentalist religious forebears, was a fan and translator of Hafiz. According to Daniel Ladinsky, whose translations we'll hear today, many of the words Hafiz uses are codes developed by poets of the time in order to share secular love poems that actually carry layers of meaning, spiritual meaning. Hafiz uses many words for God, including friend, beloved, he, and the applauding chef. Here in this community, where we have many ways to understand and express our connection to something larger than ourselves, I invite you to bring your own lens to these words, and also simply to let the words wash over you. As Hafiz says, good poetry makes the universe admit a secret. I am really just a tambourine. Grab hold, play me against your warm thigh.
Every child has known God, not the God of names, not the God of don'ts, not the God who ever does anything weird, but the God who knows only 4 words and keeps repeating them, saying, "Come dance with me, come dance."
Once a young woman said to me, "How does it feel to be a man?" And I replied, "My dear, I am not so sure." Then she said, "Well, aren't you a man?" And this time I responded, "I view gender as a beautiful animal that people often take for a walk on a leash and might enter into some odd contest in hopes of winning a strange prize." My dear, a better question for Hafiz would have been, how does it feel to be a heart? For all I know is love. I find my heart is infinite and everywhere.
How did this rose ever open its heart and give to this world all its beauty? It felt the encouragement of the light against its being. Otherwise, we all remain too frightened.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Let us put hands on hearts. Feel the warm connection. Let love in this moment flow. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love will heal the world. At this time, I invite you to say out loud the names of people you are holding in your heart this morning. As humans have gathered for millennia, so we gather on this day to gently surrender to something larger than ourselves, to humbly acknowledge our mistakes, to seek hope and renewal, to honor the earth that supports and sustains life, to remember that all beings are inextricably and mysteriously connected. Now we still our bodies and our minds. We take in a big breath, and then we exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the wise silence.
I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will unfurl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Good morning. I am Sonia Tinsley Hook, and I have something to share with you this morning. Now, I've come out about this before, but once is not enough when you're talking about coming out. So here it goes. I am a Pollyanna. I can't hide from this truth anymore. I like being happy. I like feeling joy. I really love love. Although I don't always succeed, like the fictional Pollyanna, I try to see the positive, the hidden gift, the reason to smile in almost every situation. As Pollyanna herself would say, every day I try to find reasons to be glad. The fact that calling someone a Pollyanna is still an insult in our society shows how little we understand the strength and energy that comes from being glad and the transformative power of joy. But I know from my studies of positive psychology and from studying the book of my own life that joy is one of the most practical and effective tools that one can use to survive and thrive. In a world in which Black girls and women are so often disrespected, ridiculed, or just plain ignored, I have learned to believe in my own intelligence, creativity, and significance, and to stay in touch with my joy. My husband Jeep and I even named our daughter Sophia Joy, which means wisdom and joy. Like the legendary civil rights leader and icon Fannie Lou Hamer once said, I am sick and tired of being sick and tired. So, taking my cues from both Fannie Lou Hamer and Pollyanna, I have chosen to be powered by joy. Now, loving joy and wanting to be happy is not enough on its own to make me a UU. That only means I'm human. What makes me a UU is what I want to do with my joy, which is to create a world in which joy and purpose and abundance and community and justice is possible for all of us, no matter who we are or where we're from or who we love or our citizenship status or any of those things. In Movement in Black, the Black lesbian feminist poet Pat Parker once wrote, "If I could take all my parts with me when I go somewhere and not have to say to one of them, 'No, you stay home tonight. You won't be welcome,' because I'm going to an all-white party where I can be gay but not Black. Or I'm going to a Black poetry reading and half the poets are anti-homosexual. Or thousands of situations where something of what I am cannot come with me. The day all the different parts of me can come along, we would have what I would call a revolution." Pat Parker's vision of a world in which all parts of our humanity are not just tolerated, but welcomed and encouraged brings me such great joy. And it is what I experience a taste of each week as a member of this beloved community here at UUCA. This is a place where all my many parts and all your many parts are welcome, and where I get to be surrounded by people who also long for such a world. But as UUs, we push ourselves every week and every day to move beyond just longing for such a world, to actually investing our time, treasure, and talents to help make it so. So it is in this spirit that I ask you, my beloved community, members and friends of UUCA, lovers of humanity in all its beautiful diversity, and any fellow out-of-the-closet Pollyannas, to pledge, thank you, Don, to pledge generously to this year's stewardship campaign. Together, we can continue to build a world in which absolutely everyone can find reasons to be glad. Please pledge online on our new UUCA website, or make your pledge with Kay Johnson, who is at the stewardship table in the social hall. Please make your 2020 pledge today. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully and joyfully received. Thank you.
Even after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, "You owe me." Look what happens with a love like that. It lights up the whole sky. May these dollars light up our whole world.
Now please join me in the dedication of the offering which is found in your order of service. To the work of this congregation, which weaves a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives and these our offerings.
When was the last time you felt good? I mean, really good, like divine good, in your body and in your heart. Maybe it's been in the last few minutes with these wonderful words from Hafiz and this amazing music that we have been blessed with this morning. Maybe it's something else, a tender moment with a child, exhilaration playing a sport, cuddling a fluffy pet. Take a minute to find that moment. Close your eyes if you like. Breathe in and out. Notice what it feels like. Warmth, excitement. Is there some sadness mixed in? Where in your body do you feel it? Hold that feeling for a minute. Breathe in and out. Before you let that moment go, did you have an instant when you were searching for your moment of saying to yourself, "Nope, that one doesn't count. Keep looking, find another one." Tuck that answer away for later. You can open your eyes now. Hafiz tells us to find God everywhere, all around us, and trust that our bodies, our senses, are actually capable of good worship decisions. That in following our hearts, we can discern what is most important to us and how to honor it. Essentially, that pleasure can be a guide to what is good. I don't know about you, though, but my body tells me pretty often that what we really need is another cookie. I'm suspicious of whether my body, heart, intuition, whatever you want to call it, is really that trustworthy. So I want to talk about 3 challenges to following the guidance of our bodies toward the divine. The first is that we're socialized to believe that pleasure equals bad. The second is the connection between pleasure and injustice. And the third is that it just takes practice. Hafiz was not shy about criticizing mainstream thought that won't admit pleasure as a guide to the right kind of good, the divine kind. He sees this socialization as unfortunate and limiting. In his poem, Tiny Gods, Hafiz rather graphically lists some of the things we may be taught are not divine. Some gods say, the tiny ones, "I am not here in your vibrant, moist lips that need to beach themselves upon the golden shore of a naked body." Some gods say, "I am not the sacred yearning in the unrequited soul. I am not the blushing cheek of every star and planet. I am not the applauding chef of those precious secretions that can distill the whole mind into a perfect wincing jewel, if only for a moment. Nor do I reside in every pile of warm, sweet dung born of the earth's gratuity. Some gods say, the ones we need to hang, your mouth is not designed to know his. Love was not born to consume the luminous realms. Dear ones, beware of the tiny gods frightened men create to bring an anesthetic relief to their sad days. For Hafiz, music, dancing, expressing our gender, sex and romance, and even heartache can be paths to God. Perhaps I can have that cookie after all. At least every once in a while. UU theologian, the Reverend Dr. Tandeka, offers in the tradition of psychoanalysis that the breakdown between our body and mind that tells us pleasure is bad often happens early in our lives. We make some kind of connection with another person that we find pleasurable, but which is identified by our caretakers as bad and wrong. We then learn to follow the rules rather than trusting our own human ability to connect. She explores in depth the example of racial trauma in the process of Euro-Americans becoming white. Rather than being born white, she argues, at some point early in our lives, most of us have an experience where race trumps pleasure. For example, being told which friends can come to a birthday party. That experience keeps us from being our most fulfilled selves and leaves us with a sense of shame around race that makes it hard to talk about for the rest of our lives. It's hard work to rebuild that connection with our bodies, but it can be worthwhile, especially because it allows more genuine connection with each other. There are examples in our own theological history of leaders connecting with their body. Our Universalist forebear, Hosea Ballou, describes powerfully how bodily sensation informs his core beliefs. He said, "That which more than anything else contributed to turn my thoughts seriously towards the belief of universalism was the ardent desire with which I found myself exercised that sinners might be brought to repentance and salvation. I found it utterly impossible to bring my feelings to consent to the doctrine of eternal reprobation, and I was compelled either to allow that such feelings were sinful or that my Heavenly Father, in giving them to me, had implanted an evidence in favor of the salvation of all men, the force of which I found no means to resist." In other words, Ballou was a universalist because it just felt wrong to worship a God who would send people to hell. Tandeka points out, in bringing up this example, that Ballou had a warm, nurturing upbringing that allowed him to stay in touch with his intuition and let pleasure guide his theology, helping lead a theological revolution. Many of us are not so lucky, and all of us are impacted by trauma in various ways and degrees. Denying or being denied the truth of our body is trauma. It's a breakdown of wholeness. That kind of trauma builds on other kinds of trauma that we experience, emotional, physical, as a result of being human in this world. And that brings us to matters of justice. By realizing our body's truth, we are better able to recognize the ways other bodies are traumatized and deprived of pleasure. And if we can find commonality in our yearning for wholeness, this yearning can be a bridge across the trauma that so often divides us. In thinking about pleasure as a bridge, let's start on the one-on-one level. One of my most powerful formative UU experiences was in the About Your Sexuality course that I took in about 8th grade with my Sunday school classmates. It's a precursor to what we now know as the Our Whole Lives, or OWL, curriculum, which we offer frequently here, tailored to various age groups, including adults. OWL starts from the principle that sexuality is a good part of the human experience. That's an idea that resonates with the poem we just heard. Another foundational principle is that people engage in healthy sexual behavior for a variety of reasons, including to share pleasure. Owl teaches that each person's pleasure is wrapped up in other people's and offers responsible ways to make decisions and communicate with our sexual partners, the people who are often among the closest to us. In this way, it not only enriches our intimate relationships, like seriously, you should get like a badge to put on your dating profile when you complete Owl. But it also prepares us to scale up, to caring about the joy and satisfaction of other people in our lives, and eventually to groups we see as different or outside of our community. Owl also names that sexuality in our society is damaged by violence, exploitation, alienation, dishonesty, abuse of power, and the treatment of persons as objects. Through a healthy relationship to sexual pleasure, we also start to learn about ways trauma, particularly systematized trauma, interferes with our ability to experience goodness. In this case, it's the oppression of patriarchy, but it could be racial, as we discussed earlier. And if you want to dig in on the relationship between money and pleasure, come back here to the sanctuary at 12:30 today for Dr. Jason Delaney's Worthy Beyond Worth adult religious education class. Self-proclaimed pleasure activist Adrienne Marie Brown has some helpful reflections connecting pleasure and oppression. She says, pleasure activism is about learning what it means to be satisfiable, to generate from within and from between us an abundance from which we can all have enough. Part of the reason so few of us have a healthy relationship with pleasure is because a small minority of our species hoards the excess of resources, creating a false scarcity, and then trying to sell us joy. Sell us back to ourselves. Pleasure is not one of the spoils of capitalism. It is what our bodies, our human systems are structured for. It is the aliveness and awakening, the gratitude and humility, the joy and celebration of being miraculous. Gratitude and humility, joy and celebration, miraculous. Sounds like spiritual work to me. Indeed, it takes spiritual practice and maybe some therapy if you follow Tandeka's line of psychoanalysis, and it can be hard. Here are a few more of Adrienne Marie Brown's tips for responsibly following pleasure as a guide to what is good, with some elaboration from me. We become what we practice. Think back to your moment of pleasure from when you closed your eyes a few minutes ago. Remember that feeling in your body? Get to know that feeling. Feel it more often. What you pay attention to grows. One way to start listening to your own body is meditative practice. But even if you're not a meditator, maybe you can create new habits by journaling, reflecting with a friend, even putting a reminder in your Google Calendar to make some time for yourself. Quieting our minds can make room for our bodies to send us a message. It can also help us sort through all the confusion of oppressive socialization. If you second-guessed your pleasure moment a minute ago, reflection may help you either figure out how to embrace that pleasure or decide to grow in a different direction. Third, she says, make justice and liberation feel good. We did that last weekend here with Dolly Parton. Go march in the Pride Parade. Bring your creativity to the revolution. Maybe sign up for the next Owl class. In this moment, she says, we must prioritize the pleasure of those most impacted by oppression. Acknowledging the truth of our bodies, even when that truth is just straight up pain, is a step toward wholeness. Witnessing someone else's pain is something we can do for each other in our darkest moments when there's not much else we can do. Show up for each other and practice recognizing that even when someone is very different from you, they may be yearning for some kind of wholeness. A few more quick tips that I can't skip over. Yes is the way. Your no makes the way for your yes. Being able to say no makes yes a choice. Moderation is key. Remember, pleasure is about being satisfied and satisfiable. Finally, she says, try on the idea that when I am happy, it is good for the world. Whoa. And here we are, back at Hafiz, finding our way to the divine good through joy. A theology rooted in yearning for pleasure may bring us more pleasure, more music and dancing, healthy sex, gender expression, animal cuddles, more beautiful nature. It also challenges us to find pleasure in unexpected ways, in work that makes us alive, in learning, amidst trauma, in life decisions, and in connection with others. Here's an example of a recent way that trying this theology on pushed me through a difficult personal encounter. Recently, a devout Christian asked me how I came around to my religious beliefs. I could feel her reaching for a connection with me, but I pushed back, maybe channeling some trauma of Unitarian Universalism being judged by Christianity. I needed to know more about what was behind her question. I wasn't able to unearth it. I gave a superficial answer, and it continued to bother me. As I digested the encounter with a mentor, I realized, one, how difficult it was to focus on the good part, the desire for connection, when my concern about judgment got in the way. And two, that my theology calls me to do so. What if I took a risk thinking about other ways the conversation could have gone? What if I opened up about my own experience of judgment, my being judged and judging others, even when I really didn't want or mean to? Would we have come to a more satisfying, deeper understanding and connection? Next time, maybe by focusing on the goodness we are both striving for, I will be able to create more of it. Pleasure is a powerful and worthwhile guide, but a theology of pleasure requires rigorous spiritual work. It won't always feel divine, but sometimes it will, and practicing will feel really good. Let's let the words of Hafiz hold us on our journey towards what our bodies know is good. You have not danced so badly, my dear, trying to hold hands with the beautiful one. You have waltzed with great style, my sweet, crushed angel, to have ever neared God's heart at all. Our partner is notoriously difficult to follow, and even his best musicians are not always easy to hear. So what if the music has stopped for a while? So what if the price of admission to the divine is out of reach tonight? So what, my sweetheart, if you lack the ante to gamble for real love? The mind and the body are famous for holding the heart ransom, but Hafiz knows the beloved's eternal habits. Have patience, for he will not be able to resist your longings and charms for long. You have not danced so badly, my dear, trying to kiss the magnificent one. You have actually waltzed with tremendous style, my sweet, oh my sweet, crushed angel. Amen.
I'm also an out-of-the-closet Pollyanna, and I just feel great after this service. Just fantastic. Will you join me in thanking Gypsies at Heart right here? So fantastic. They're going to play a little postlude for us. They can, you guys want to set up. They also have CDs available. I've already purchased mine to listen to keep my positive moment of the day going. Our final hymn this morning is about beauty and pleasure for the beauty of the earth. Number 21 in the gray hymnal. Please rise in body or in spirit. For the beauty of the earth, for the splendor of the skies, for the love that from our birth over and around us lies. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of ear and eye, for the heart and mind's delight, for the mystic harmony, linking sense to sound and sight. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the wonder of each hour, of the day and of the night, hill and vale and tree and flower, sun and moon and stars of light. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise. For the joy of human care, sister, brother, parent, child, for the kinship we all share, for all gentle thoughts and mild. Source of all, to thee we raise this our hymn of grateful praise.
Please stay standing and connect with each other, hands, shoulders, elbows. Be one community for our benediction with these words from Hafiz. Out of a great need, we are all holding hands and climbing. Not loving is a letting go. Listen, the terrain around here is far too dangerous for that. Go in peace.
Amen.